Hey folks, so I've been getting some questions about how to add weapons to Receiver 1 using the new mod loader system. So I figured I'd make a video just like explaining in broad strokes what it's like or how to add stuff like that. This video is going to assume you understand a lot of things like how Unity works and how to do some basic 3D modeling. I will be using like a base model off of Sketchfab, like one of these. Get this guy's model. I'll link this repo or whatever, because it has some really good models. They're like close enough to receiver style to use for the game. So I've just been using these. We'll probably be doing the Ruger SR9 here because it seemed like a cool gun. There's a few things I need to fix about the model, but it seems fairly well set up. Most of these should work, but there's some like features the game is missing that would mess with your ability to add the gun to it, but like most basic handguns and revolvers will work. If there's any missing features, there's a good chance that they'll get added if you request them to be added, because it's still like a work in progress system. So, and this was recorded on 12th of March 2020. So I don't know what it's like now while you're watching, but this is how it works right now. First off, you need the repo to do it, so you gotta like download the zip and extract it somewhere. And you need to get Unity, like the same Unity version it was built with, which in this case right now is Unity 2019.1.11 F1, which is completely free. Obviously it's Unity. And this is just the gun range scene, which is in the gun range folder. Range. I just like using the scene because it's nice to look at and simple. Alright, so I downloaded the model and it's an FBX file. I'm just going to plop it into Maya. I like using Maya because it's what I know. I don't know what you would use for it, but probably Blender or something. Most of these were made in Blender to begin with, so. First off, let me just assign one material to it, just because I prefer that. Since I'll be using like Vertex coloring anyway. To color the thing. I don't know why the music stopped. Alright, let's do some Half-Life music then. Cool. Right, so this gun's already kind of in pieces. You obviously need to separate out all the pieces that need to move in the game, but I like consolidating everything and just like separating it piece by piece after. I already noticed this is like a tiny bit too high up. It's gonna clip with it, which would be bad. Is that too steep? I don't know. I'm not going for full accuracy here. It's still a low poly model, but the slide, and this is the safety, thumb safety. I think this is the hammer, technically, or firing pin, but I don't think I'm gonna move that any differently from just having it attached to this. Alright, let's start combining some of these meshes so that they're one piece. On some of these things, the pivot doesn't matter, so you can just combine them and the pivot can just be centered. Oh shit. I don't really like how this is just plastered on top. It's supposed to be like inset. But this is not going to get like a separate animation anyway, because it wouldn't. allow for that right now. I think this is supposed to be like a chamber indicator or something. Also, forgive me if I'm like using the wrong terms for things, because I don't actually know guns very well. See, this model's nice because it has the inside all modeled fairly decently enough anyway, to where it's sort of believable. Oh, where did that come from? Why is that there? Guess there's a double here. That's weird. Get rid of that. There's a little bit of clipping going on here if you look from this side. I don't know if I should change that. Could pretty easily by just insetting it a tiny bit. Oh right, this is supposed to be attached as well. Little tiny thing. Combine. Alright. So you got your slide here, obviously. Slide. I name these things just so I can more easily identify them inside Unity. It's going to delete the history so I don't have to deal with slowdowns. And that just moves like that. Seems good. Cool. This already seems to be attached properly. This is probably going to go like that and down, if I remember correctly. I may need to mess with some of the vertices. Wait. Let me just make sure these match up, and this goes down a little bit. Let's see if this would actually penetrate the thing or not, because I kind of want it right there once it's no longer in. Alright, cool. Right, you're also going to want to, let's see, freeze all the transformations, which basically zeroes out all these values over here, because they came with like a bunch of weird values to begin with, which is kind of weird. I don't know if the game supports this being a separate object or not. I don't think it does. Hold on, I can check. By grab in, this is actually really similar to, let's see, where is it? The Glock 17. Pop this in the scene. If this is one object, or trigger safety. So it is a separate object. Okay. That'll be interesting. Okay, well, I don't think it has support for it though. Is there a trigger safety visual? There is not. Interesting. Okay. So I don't think it matters much if this is here or like slightly more inside and merged with it. And that's gonna move like that. Make sure to pivot makes sense for it to move like that, so you have an easier time setting it up later. And this is the mag release. This is kind of rough in this model, and it's also non-symmetrical for some reason. I'm gonna make this a little more, let's see, I don't know. I should generally have a reference of it up somewhere too. Let's see, what is it? Ruger SR9? Yeah, SR9. Look up the gun on Google Images and just like look at a random This is a tiny image. I don't like that. There we go. Right. That's what the gun looks like in real life. Obviously this is not angled in that image, and this has a little bit of a weird shape to it, it's like a D shape. So what I'm going to do is that. And this seems a little far out, maybe. I don't know. This model isn't perfect. It's fairly good, but not amazing. I don't know what this is, though. I'm guessing this is the slide lock, though. I'm assuming. It's not actually on the model. Although it might be on the other side, yeah. There's also this little slide attachment slide here. It might be interesting to do something with. Just to make the gun a little more interesting than just like just another one, you know. Combine all these meshes. Right, so I'll just call this slide lock. And this is thumb safety. Forgot, I should probably not use uppercase, so it can just auto detect it later, making my life easier. Alright. This is all gonna be part of the main body, right? Yeah. Am I missing anything obvious? This thing? It's supposed to be part of the main body too, I think. Perhaps. I just generally want to make sure it is relatively accurate. It doesn't have to be super accurate for my own tastes. I don't see a clear image of that being pulled back, but I also can't imagine it not being static, so maybe I should just combine it. So now if it fires, it would go like that. And chamber a new round. Is it supposed to be longer? Maybe? It looks... maybe it should be longer. Can't really tell from any pictures I've found, so... I mean, if this is a firing pin, it would have to contact the bullets, right? I don't know. That's just my thinking. This is already attached together, that's good. This magazine looks fairly good. It does need some kind of indicator on the side, though, because these things are shown from a side view to figure out how many bullets are in there. So let me quadrangulate it. Oh, I messed up. Right. Guess I'll just manually quadrangulate those two. And the inside of it too. Hold on. Oh, it doesn't go down very far. Shit. I need to model that in. Okay. I'm generally not too worried about holes in the mesh, just because I'm going to use a shader that has a two-sided rendering thing going on. But it is nicer to have it like more cleanly attached or modeled. I think this is supposed to go out, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay, I can't see shit, so I'm just gonna do this. Okay, now I should be able to stretch it out to make it consistent with, there we go. And And then I guess I'll just... I guess I don't really need to make sure it's closed off because it's already got that closed off model. Alright. So we need to be able to see how many bullets are in here, which means I need to make a little slit so you can count them. At least roughly, not like perfectly, but and then we just, guess that doesn't work because the top wasn't quadrangulated. All right, forgot. All right, now I can do it. Yeah. Cool. And then we bevel that. I'm not sure about like structural integrity of these things. So I'm not going for perfect geometry here. But that should work decently. Because at least you'll be able to see the tips of the bullet as they go up. The built-in guns have pretty detailed magazines with like a whole bunch of holes in them and stuff. You can go for that. I'm not going to do that for this one just because it's going to take way longer to make if I do that. Actually, I don't want to do that. Alright, cool. Is this supposed to be sticking out that much? Seems like it is. That kind of sucks. Because then you see that little strip. Oh well. I'll accept it for now. Yeah. I might model a laser for the front of it, just because that seems like a cool addition here. And I will just time-lapse that, I guess. Laser add-on. It is gonna look something like this, I guess. Something like this. I think this is an SR22, but I think the attachment is the same. And I will just make this a static, always-on laser. That should be good. Alright, time-lapse. that's it, I think. That should be it. I'm not gonna spend more time on it, even though it's not perfect. It's fine. Maybe like move this down a little bit just so it doesn't clip, but it's pretty weird geometry. But I think it's supposed to be like generic for guns, so I'm not even sure if this is like the right length for it. But it's just a laser, so it shouldn't be too weird. Okay, so let's combine those. Call this laser sight. This is not a thing that the game supports at all, so I'm just adding it for me, basically. Wait, I should probably scale it to the right size now, right? Also, this is not done. This guy is, it's not done. Needs a little bevel, and it needs to be symmetrical. So, because this gun is ambidextrous. Oh wait, no, it's the wrong one. What? Polybevel 4? No. Hold on, edit, delete all my type history. There we go. Oh, wrong axis. Right, these guns are always rotated weirdly, because they come out of Blender. Blender is weird. Settings when it comes to the axes of things. I feel like this should be like tilted this way, so it's like that, but that wouldn't be accurate to the gun. I think this is too strong of a chamfer right here. Should be much like less sloped. But I'm not sure if I can correct that here. Let's see. Quadrangulating it, which usually ruins the shape a little bit, but this needs to be like way less strong. I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to do because it's not my model, obviously. Where was the Ruger model I had before? There it is, the picture. See, if you look at this one, it's basically flat here. It runs in a little bit, but it's not. But does that mean this is super wide and this is just like modeled wrong? Is that what's going on here? Because this might need to be like that, much chunkier. But then you get like weirdness. I don't know. And if I just curve this in a little. I don't have a reference Ruger in front of me to actually use, but you know, maybe some Americans will correct this entire thing. Oh, this needs to be centered, so I can scale it outwards a little. And this is the magazine mag release. This doesn't have a button or like an animation thing, so it's essentially just cosmetic in receiver, but that's fine. I suppose I could just attach it to the main receiver. And I'm pretty sure it's called receiver. Is it called receiver? Probably. Let's center this one too. There's some weird stuff that happens sometimes with these models where there's a bunch of extra transforms that get created. So what I'm going to do is combine those two and then separate them. Let's see, separate. combine that. And then you get this one. And I'm just gonna center the pivot on that one. Alright, so this was the slide lock. And this is the thumb safety. Oh, right. Edit. History. There's a 2 it adds because in the history it still existed. Alright. Cool. Alright. We've got all the basics set up. I'm just gonna color it real quick because I can. Did I close that? No, I didn't. But I am gonna probably use the color scheme roughly this guy used for his 3D model, which will be this. I'm just gonna keep that on my second screen and reference it for coloring. Looks like there's a darker color and like a gunmetal. Alright, hold on. That's gonna be, I mean, I guess I can just color pick it. I don't know. Seems like cheating, but. Those 2 parts get to be darker, which is gonna be this color. Yeah, pretty good. And the other parts, I mean, I guess this one needs to be slightly darker. And I'm using Vertex coloring here, which is basically just a fancy thing that makes it so it stores the color information in the mesh data. That's too dark. Alright, this is not an exact science, this is just, you know, I'm doing whatever. Generally, this one seems to be quite dark, which is probably this one, right? Yeah. Basically just give it the general color and then change specific parts to be slightly lighter or darker. And I could be using consistent color scheme throughout where all the light parts are a specific light and stuff, but this guy always makes all these little buttons and things slightly lighter than the main body. It's kind of nice. This could actually use a little bit of changes. Let's see. I'll insert that slightly more, just so it doesn't cause weird Z fighting. Alright, the buttons are the same color as the main body, which is kind of shit, so I'm going to make them slightly lighter. Is that slightly lighter enough? I don't know. That'll work. Buttons get the same color. This needs to be slightly lighter too. Oh, wrong one. He made it the same color as the barrel. I don't know if I want that, but looks alright. Let's see. The mag is all just one color. Looks like. I'm gonna make it slightly different from the actual body, just so it looks nicer. Is that different enough? I don't know. Let's make it darker. Yeah, that's good. Right, so this seems to be the same color as the buttons, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I can make it work by just changing a few things. This one needs to be darker, I feel like, even though it's not actually interactive. and likely can't be seen in most angles. Cool. Now this laser sight is obviously a custom production, so I'm going to make it slightly different just so it actually stands out. I might want to make the button slightly lighter though. Is that, yeah, it's different enough. This will never be seen by the player, but I also feel like this needs to be different. Cool. If I get rid of this, does it look weird? No, looks alright. Oh, there was one inside here actually. Hold on. It just got buried because I scaled it up. And also I didn't actually make sure this matched the body width. So I'll just do that real quick. Hiding my crimes here. I'm gonna want this same color to be that, alright? This goes slightly darker, not much. Right, this is generally the gun, I think. The colors will change or look a little different in the actual game. So I'm going to leave them like this for now. I might actually spruce this up a little. Do I want a red laser or a green one is the question. I think I'm going to go red. Just make it classic, you know. As for the actual laser part, I'm going to do a cylinder. God, it's tiny. This doesn't need a lot of sides. Let's do 6 sides. Rotate it. Gotta make sure it's actually 90 here. Scale it up. Plop it in there. Now my idea is to just stretch this all the way out. Oh, far enough to where you can't really see that it ends eventually. And then you just make this entire thing red, but you can like just add a little subtle fade at the end there. I might make it like that, but I'm not sure. We'll see. This is not very far, but okay. So the main thing that bothers me about this is that it always imports it with a shit ton of scale. I'm gonna save this real quick. I haven't saved it yet, which is dumb. Always save before you start working, not after. Ruger SR9. Save. Okay, thank God. So now I need to Google the dimensions real quick. And all I care about is the length, which looks to be 192 millimeters. That doesn't seem very long, but okay. So my idea is generally to select everything and then parent it to the main body, then scale it down to like 10% so you can actually work with it. And then you, hold on, let me save this, create a cube at the size that it gives you times 10, just so it's workable. So that's 1.92 in depth. Wait, hold on. Also, you have to rotate it because their z-axis is dumb. Right, so I zero it out. Pretty cool. And now I just scale it organically to match this box. Because if it matches the box, with the front and with the back, obviously. It's close enough. Then it's gonna match the size it's supposed to be in the game. Actually, I think I should probably change the color on that one a little bit. It's supposed to be brighter, I think. That's the wrong type. Don't do that. Slightly darken that. Okay. Yeah, that looks better. All right. So this is it. It looks kind of nice. I like it. Gotta make sure pivots are right. Yeah. This looks right. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the laser yet. I might just disable it later, but we'll see. For now, this gets exported as a whole. Although I might unparent it first, to be honest. Come on. Unparent. Cool. Okay. Everything is still called slide and everything. Yep. Oh, wait. Uh-huh. Magazine. Okay, so this is thumb safety, slide lock. Cool. Alright, that should work. Actually, hold on. I don't think I actually colored this one, did I? I just parented it to it. And this might actually need to be darker. Wow, that was close to the actual color. But I'm going to make it slightly darker because it's not an important thing. Alright. Man. And this is where you start to see little annoyances in the mesh that make you want to tweak it a little. Just so that's a smoother curve. Right. This gun is not perfect, but it'll do. Cool. And then you export it to where did I put it? Let me just check. I'm gonna create a folder here called custom guns, and that gets some models, and yeah, just pop it in there. Should have an explorer so I know where it is, and then I can go into Maya and pop it in there. Ruger SR9 export. Cool. And now here it is, Ruger. All right. Real quick, I'm gonna compare the scale for it. Glock 17. And then you pop the Ruger right next to it. See, as you can see, it's tiny right now. This is a Maya import thing. I'm not sure if this is like a universal gun or like modeling thing, but as you can see, scale is pretty dead on. It looks like it matches quite well, actually. And that's perfect. For now, I'll just create a folder called materials and pop a new material in there on that, and make this use Vertex data. This one is just built in with the game, and this will make the vertex colors show up, as you can see. Let me actually open it up and see if there's any weirdness here. equals just 1. Okay. The only weirdness I can see here is the name of this thing and the name of this. It's supposed to be trigger. So I'm going to go back into this and rename this. Oh yeah, there it is. Trigger. And this is laser. Doing lasers is actually really easy. I mean, just the basic laser anyway. Ideally, you want it to be like reactive to the depth and stuff, but I can't add that kind of changes or like custom scripting to objects. If I just put this as a laser map and then get the sprite shader. I guess I can't find that. Maybe UI unlit transparent. Yeah, looks like that works. As you can see, it fades out and looks kind of alright. It's not perfect. Ideally, you want it to be actually functional, but since you can't even see it anyway, it doesn't super matter. That's just the basics of getting a gun like finished up and ready to add to the game. Next part is going to be a lot trickier because if you look at the setup on this one, you can see all these poses and points, and that's receiver's like animation system. Slide lock, cool. And I need to make my own versions of those for this thing, which is not too hard, but it's just kind of tedious.